Hi there. Before we jump in, I just wanted to apologize for the mic noise. I did not realize at the time of recording this, and also my voice was still healing, so it might not be the clearest. Either way, I hope you enjoy, and let's go. A lot of the time we just push ourselves to do something that we know is not right for us just because of the fear of what will happen if I say no. It will feel like a failure and that I failed. Something that I keep forgetting to mention even to my friends. This is the second time that this thing happened. The very first time I was meant to go to Asia, 3 or 4 hours before my flight, I cancelled. You know, the very first moment that really pushed me to record the first episode was on the 1st of September, on the day when I was meant to start my Kundalini Teacher Training in India. That day I recorded probably like a 1-hour episode on me simply sharing how I was feeling at that time. Today is September 1st, and it was meant to be the day when I was going to start my Kundalini Teacher Training. 2 days ago I was meant to fly to India. Now I was thinking of posting that episode as episode 1 of this podcast, but the first thing was that the sound was really poor. It's pretty difficult to hear whatever I was saying, and also my voice was really struggling because I was pretty ill at that point as well. So I thought I will record a new episode with better sound quality, me feeling much better, touch wood, and really take you through this journey of what happened and how I cancelled the journey of me becoming a Kundalini teacher in September, because you know this might still happen at some point and we don't know. I don't know. I am open to whatever is meant to happen. And so, to begin, I have been planning this training for months. I think I found out about the school in January when my friend was starting her teacher training, but it wasn't Kundalini, it was like another type of yoga that she was doing. I never planned to go to India. It's not somewhere that I felt called to be going and yet. But however, my friend, she kept kind of sending me videos and calling me from there, and she's like, Ellie, this place, you know, you would love it so much. And I was still like, no, it's fine. But then I found out that they do Kundalini teacher training. And Kundalini yoga is something that I've done for years now. It's the first yoga that I did that I enjoyed. It was at the very beginning of my travels in Asia. That was in 2015. And I remember the first time I tried it, it was incredible. I don't want to talk too much about this, but it was the beginning of really diving into this new way of living and so on. And this is when I started really kind of feeling into that, and I never was really super into doing yoga, but when I did, it was usually Kundalini. And I always kind of knew I want to learn more about it whenever it's right. If I find the right school, then maybe it will be a sign where I can really dive deep into it. And I ended up booking the training. I was meant to go and do it in September, which is the month now. And I already planned everything in a way where I had completely freed my schedule. The whole of September was meant to be a month where I fully dive deep into the training, fully dive deep into learning and studying and practicing, you know. And about 2-3 weeks before I was meant to leave, I started feeling just these really unsettling feelings, and something was majorly off. And I remember I spoke to a friend, and he suggested to ask for guidance if there's any reason why I shouldn't be going. Can you please send me a sign, you know? And I did that. And next day I ended up writing to the school, asking them, really wanting to reassure myself, I asked them how do they support the students through that process in case there is any big releasing of trauma. And Kundalini is a very intense process. It's not something that you just go and do. When you dive deep into it, when you do it every single day, you need to be sure that you can be held and supported, and you need to be able to trust I do anyway. I want to be able to trust the people that are holding this space. And so it was very important to me, and for some reason something started feeling off. And so I wrote to the school and I got a really good reply. It was very reassuring. However, I also found out that the main two teachers that were meant to hold that space, who were meant to guide us, teach us, they are the two main teachers that I have researched myself, because they were the main people that were all over the website. I looked at how they teach, how they feel when I really tapped into the way how they teach. I found out that they're not going to be there, that they will be in another country because they're opening another school in a different country. And that really it didn't feel right at all. But I thought to myself, you know what, it's fine. Maybe it's actually good to not have those main teachers there. Maybe, how it is with the guru and the main teacher. Usually there's this aspect of us that wants to impress. And I wondered, maybe that's for the best. Maybe that's what would happen. Maybe it's actually good to not have that main teacher there. Maybe it's good just to learn from, people that I don't even know who they are. So I explained it in my head and I was like, it's fine. However, those 2 weeks, the whole 2 weeks, I felt so nervous, and I wasn't sure. I thought it's maybe just me being nervous. It was just the fear, right, of stepping into something new. I knew this journey would be big. I knew it would be very, very definitely challenging. And so I was thinking it's probably why. But then 2 days before my flight, I started feeling ill. And I was trying to pack and just, nothing is going right. I spent a whole day trying to pack and it was just not going well at all. And I asked for a sign, another sign. I was like, I know I asked you for a sign before, but if you could please send me another sign if I'm not meant to be going. And then on the day of my flight, I wake up feeling really ill. My tonsils were just not well. And it's also something interesting that I realized. Back in February, I also had problems with my tonsils. And I haven't had those problems since I was at university. And I linked that all those times were times when my body was in stress. And for some reason, I was in such stress before flying to India. And I was thinking to myself, why? I'm never that scared to try something new. What is happening? Am I really that scared to go and, to do this? I've been wanting to do this since February. And I was like, I'll keep trying to pack. So I was packing still, and my mom came home. I walked into her room and she was crying and she wouldn't tell me why. And I was like, I realized it's probably because I'm flying, right? I'm leaving, and everything just felt off. So I managed to pack. It was about 5 p.m. and my flight was at 10:20 p.m. We were meant to leave at 6 p.m. for the airport. And there is me at 5 p.m. literally having zero idea what to do, because my whole body was just like, do not go. And I was just thinking, I can't cancel. It will be like a massive failure. How can I cancel? How can I not go? Just because I'm worried, just because I'm scared, something feels off. And how do I know if it's my intuition or my fear? And this is the question that's been coming up for me over and over and over again over the years. And every time I feel like that, I know it's my intuition. It's completely different to just purely fear. But still, I was thinking, I gotta go. A few minutes after that, I was like, please God, universe, I know I asked you for signs already, but if there's one more sign that you can send me, please, because I have no idea what to do. And what happens? Out of nowhere, I get a toothache. And the interesting thing was that it was also on the left side, so everything was happening on the left side. And I wasn't sure if this is an actual toothache or if it's from my tonsils hurting. I really had no idea. Anyway, it was about 5:45 maybe, and I ended up calling my friend, and I said to her, look, I don't know what's happening, but I really don't know if I should be going. Something feels off. And what she said to me at that point just opened my eyes completely, because she said, Ellie, it's so not like you. Usually you'd be out the door in no time, especially if it's going to Asia or to another country. You would be there, like if you could, hours ago, because you'd be so excited. Like maybe this is something that you really need to feel into, because this is not like you. Something is different, and maybe it's a sign that you should feel into that. I realized that, wow, that's so true. Even when there were times when I was really scared to do something, it wasn't that feeling that I had then. It was very different. And I sat there for a little bit, and I think it was like 6 p.m. already. My mom was already walking around, like waiting. I went to my mom and I said to her, I don't think I should be going. I don't think I can go. And she just hugged me, and I just started crying. And I remember I cried and cried and cried. I cried so freaking much. And it was like the type of crying where you just letting go. You cannot even stop, you can't control it. It's just coming out. And it was just coming out and out and out. And the interesting thing is that as soon as I said, no, I'm not gonna go, this massive weight was lifted off my shoulders. And as sad as I felt, it felt like completely 100% the right choice. And at that point, I started connecting the dots, and I realized that the time when I started feeling off about 2 weeks ago, that's the time when the school decided that the teachers are not going to be in the school doing my training, that they will be in another country. The school told me that later on. And I didn't realize that before. That's me intuitively feeling that something was different. And I realized that no, I would not be okay with going into that training not knowing who the teachers are. This is also something that I've been really learning to be okay with. The fact that I am sensitive. I am a sensitive being. Not even looking at astrology and the fact that I have so much water in me, and I'm extremely empathetic, that too, but I feel a lot. Not only my own energy, I feel a lot of what's going on around me, and it's very important for me to be in the right setting, in the right energy, surrounded by people who are truly true to themselves and who really want best for the other. And especially if it's a space like that where it's very vulnerable, it's somewhere where you need to trust, because you are letting go. You are going through this massive journey. And if you're not supported correctly, and if you're pushed, then maybe the outcome that you want, might not actually happen. And with Kundalini also, my major thing, my massive thing that really started to get me worrying was the fact that I'm not going there to push it. I'm not going there to awaken my Kundalini. No, I was going there to learn. And what really started to get me worried was how do I know that all these exercises, all these trainings that we would be doing, how do I know that they will not push that? How do I know that I will not end up pushing it? And really, I'm not saying that I would awaken my Kundalini, but pushing it, that could also mean like really pushing stuff to the surface that you're not ready for. There are also people that end up awakening their Kundalini through different ways and they're not ready, and it's not the best for them. And it's not something that I really want to talk about this here too much, but these were all the worries that I had in my head. And you know, when I realized that, this is when I intuitively started feeling off. And then I realized that that was the first time I asked for a sign. Second time I asked for a sign, I woke up with my tonsils, you know, swollen. Third sign, my toothache. I mean, come on, you know. And as soon as I just let go, as I was crying, I felt like my body just finally felt like it can just surrender. And my fever just went up. And after my temperature got pretty bad, I ended up calling 111. They ended up sending me to a hospital. And I did not plan to go to a hospital. I mean, I thought I'm going to be okay. But the fact that back in February, I ended up in hospital in Taiwan for like 5 or 6 days because of a similar issue, that's what really was getting me worried. And I ended up spending 24 hours in A&E. I ended up getting IV, antibiotics, steroids, and so on. I'm not going to take you through that whole journey, but it's just interesting because exactly the time that I was meant to fly was the time that I arrived in the hospital. I think it was like a half an hour difference. The time when I was meant to change flights, have a layover in India, was the time when I was told I need to change hospitals. I need to go to another hospital for more tests. They came with a wheelchair, picked me up, took me to an ambulance, and they drove me in an ambulance to another hospital. Exactly the time I was meant to have a layover, have changed flights in India, I was changing hospitals in England. So I just think that's pretty crazy and also hilarious when you think about it. You know, 15 days later now, I feel like this was 100% the right choice. And how did I know that it's my intuition? Why did I not trust it? You know? And my other friend told me something very interesting too, and something that really helped me. He said, you can cancel. And I said, no, that would be like a massive failure. And that was probably about an hour before I was meant to leave for the airport. And then after we talked for a bit, he mentioned, whatever you decide, make sure it's not from fear. Even if you decide to cancel, make that decision from trust, from trusting. Whether it's trusting that fear that, yeah, you are nervous, but this is for a good reason, whatever. Or whether it's trusting that, no, it's your whole body telling you not to go. There's a reason for why you feel this way, and maybe you should cancel it. And that's not exactly what he said, but basically he was saying whatever decision you make sure that it's coming from a place of trust rather than from a place of fear. And that really helped me look at it in a different way as well, because it was me allowing myself to hold myself through this and really feel into, okay, but how do I feel about this if I don't go? Why do I feel like it's a failure if I don't go? And so the whole next day I spent really diving deep into it. Like, why did it feel like a failure? And I knew. It's like, because what am I going to do? This whole month was planned for me to dive deep into the studies. This whole journey was meant to be my next thing that I do. This was meant to be the next thing that's going to lead me on to the next thing. This was the massive thing for me that was meant to guide me on to the next point of my journey. And if I don't go on to this thing, don't go to do this thing, what will I do? Where would I end up? Where would I go? Am I going to stay in England? Am I going to go somewhere else? And it was all these questions and realizing how much I attached myself to this idea of going and studying, that how I attached myself to really this vision of myself doing this Kundalini yoga teacher training, and then believing that this will then lead me on to something else. And if you ask any of my friends, they will tell you that I am someone who really trusts my gut. I am someone that really follows that voice deep within. And the interesting thing is that whenever I had these massive decisions to make, that's when I felt really similar to how I felt before cancelling the India trip, because they are such major things that even for me, who truly trusts whatever I feel like doing, I do. And a lot of the time I even think that I'm trusting too much. I'm too much in the flow rather than being actually quite logical about stuff, But if it's something that major, that's when I start questioning it, and that's when I would start wondering, is this really my intuition, or is it just fear? Because there's always this massive fear on the other side of that too. And and just now looking back, it felt so similar to different times of my life when I had to make major decisions. And if this isn't a way of my higher self, my own universe, whatever, telling me, showing me, proving me that this is how I can trust my intuition, and I don't know what is, And this whole month I decided to, if I cancelled my trip, then I still have this month available for learning, for studying, so I've got to use it for something good. And that's when I decided to really go within and really focus on myself and really reconnecting with myself. And it's something that I spoke about in the previous episode as well. And right now it feels, touch wood, it feels truly right. And the reason why I wanted to share this again, to re-record this episode, was first of all to put it out there, even for myself, but second of all, how even if we take it really, really far, to the point where I took it, I cancelled 3 hours before the flight, 4 hours before the flight. Even if it's that close to going, or to whatever the decision is, you can still say no if your whole body is telling you no. A lot of the time we just push ourselves to do something that we know is not right for us, just because of the fear of what will happen if I say no. It will feel like a failure and that I failed. But why do we feel like that? Like, who says that it will be a failure other than ourselves? And yeah, of course, there can be people that would see it differently. There could be people that would go anyway, and people that maybe are not necessarily so in touch with their own inner guidance that they wouldn't hear it, or people who would hear it wouldn't really necessarily listen to it, or people who simply are not as sensitive that they wouldn't mind. Also, people that are not as aware, maybe, and they wouldn't really even think about these things. There's so many different ways, and neither one is right or wrong, but it's me appreciating and really actually thanking my body and my being for really pushing me, and the universe for sending me these signs, actually make me listen, stop and listen. It's funny because I was thinking that this massive journey, I felt like it's going to be a big turning point. Like, I knew that if when I go, this will be a massive point in my journey. And now looking back, I think it still is, but it's about me saying no to this journey that's really pushed me over the edge. In a way, it's really pushed me into looking into this. Why? Is it because of me feeling a certain way? Because of what will other people think? What are the reasons? And so I've been really diving deep into that, really sitting with it, and I can't tell you the difference it makes when we do that. oh my goodness, you know. And if the past 2-3 years haven't been a lesson into doing that, you know, there was a time when I was in Mexico, and maybe I will talk about this at some point. The person I was with, we ended up getting robbed, and the crazy thing is that right before it happened, I had a clear feeling that something's majorly off, but I didn't believe it. I believed it, but I didn't listen to it. Yeah, that was a massive, massive test for me. And I remember I was asked later on, did you feel that something was going to be off, that something was off? And I was like, yes, I did. And the person who asked me that question was like, there we go, this was your intuition telling you, you know, this is a massive lesson for you to trust your guidance, because your guidance is so powerful, it's so strong. And so why so often do we choose not to listen to it? What are the reasons? What are the reasons for you when you don't trust it? Is it because you're questioning whether it's true guidance or not? Or what is it? Anyway, if you're listening to this, thank you so much for being here. I would love to hear your experiences on this. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment. Or if you're listening to it as a podcast, send me a message on my Instagram. It's all linked in the notes. I would love to hear from you, any stories that you have that really helped you to trust that guidance within. And did you have any experiences similar to mine where your guidance was so strong, but you really questioned it and you kept choosing not to listen until the very end where you had to cancel? And just one last note, something that I keep forgetting to mention even to my friends, and when I do, they're just so shocked, is that this is the second time that this thing happened. The very first time I was meant to go to Asia, which was in 2015, I think. Also, I think 3 or 4 hours before my flight, I cancelled. Also because of health reasons. It was such a similar story. And I also felt like it's a massive failure of me saying no. I also cried my eyes out. But the crazy thing is, the next day I felt like it was 100% the right choice, and I knew I'm still going to make it happen, and I made it happen, and I ended up going to Asia, I think 4 months later. And when I went, and I knew 1,000,000% that first time when I had to cancel, I was not ready to go. It wasn't the right time. Something was off. Even all the preparations that I was trying to do, nothing really happened as I planned. And I knew with my whole body, my whole being, that it wasn't the right time. And so it was good that I had to cancel. And the same thing happened here. I feel with my whole body, my whole being, that it was 100% the right thing to do, to cancel. And the interesting thing is, the toothache, touch wood, it went away. You know, the tonsils, yes, I was put on antibiotics and so on. And I understand that it was my body really reacting to the stress that I've been feeling. It's not just a universe sending me a sign. It was the stress that I was putting my body through, because I had this massive fear of going, because something was off. And that's why I felt so unsettled, and my body went into this stress. So my massive thing now is to really take care of my body, to try and take care of my body, to listen, to really take time every morning to tap in and just to sit with myself and really feel into whatever is happening, you know, however I feel. Setting my day that way, starting my day that way. Anyway, I am sending so much love. Thank you so much for being here. Bye.